I refuse to accept that I should be made to feel like I'm ashamed or less than, or I should hide in the dark about my drug use, when that's the very thing that keeps me sick. My name is Jordan Boncourt, and I grew up in Kingston, Ontario, and I came to Toronto in 1999 for university. I came out to my mom when I was 12 years old. My mom promptly told me that I wasn't. Coming out and then being told that you're not gay because your parents can't handle that feels like, oh, they can't handle me. I'm not really lovable the way I am. And that kind of just sat with me. I started to notice guys online on gay.com. We're talking about partying and playing, and so I kind of cottoned on that what they were talking about was using drugs. I hooked up with this really hot guy in the village, and he was smoking crystal. And for some reason, the context in which it was happening and the fact that I found the guy so hot and the fact that we just had incredible sex, that just sort of got me really hooked. I liked that feeling, I liked that environment, I liked letting go, I liked being sexual without feeling self-conscious. I was partying a lot with pause guys who were older when I started, and HIV was pretty normal, but we didn't talk about it a lot. And so when I contracted HIV, I was both not surprised and yet it was hard. Got to undetectable while using crystal meth daily, despite the fact that people will tell you that gay men who use crystal meth and party can't remain undetectable because they can't adhere to their medication. And as a almost 40-year-old gay man, I could take some pills every day. Just because I was using drugs didn't make me feeble-minded or incapable of taking care of myself, that I just had to work a little harder for it. The first few times I told my friends and family about my drug use, it was met with pretty much horror. My mom was kind of supportive. My dad was like, why are you so stupid? How could you do this? That was, I think, what set me up for a number of years of sort of secretive drug use, which is, okay, I told the truth, I got yelled at, I got called stupid. I'm not gonna talk about this with them anymore. I'm just gonna lie a lot. If you want a surefire ingredient for somebody to develop problematic substance use, make it so they can't talk about it. Make it so they're so ashamed of themselves that they will wait until they've lost their jobs. They will wait until they've lost all of their relationships before they come crawling to you seeking help. And that's how you create a problematic substance user. It's the stigma and the silence that really, really, really damages people. And that has nothing to do with the drug user. That has everything to do with the culture around them. If I hadn't lost relationships when I told people about my crystal meth use, I might have been a lot more honest about it from the get-go. But the fact of the matter is I was made to feel that my honesty was not welcome. And so I learned to just be quiet about it. Here I am on camera talking about this, and I haven't told my parents that I'm still using drugs. It's one place where I know stigma still has a hold on me. I still believe that somehow telling them would just be too tough, and then I would lose their belief in me. Yeah, it's really hard. We have to have tough conversations about what it is that makes us stigmatize people who use drugs. Why is it okay that people who use drugs can die at high rates? Why are drug users' lives not important? I lost my friend Max. He was a beautiful person, and he was universally loved by people who met him. He had fallen through the cracks because the cracks are pretty easy to fall through. I met him in a support group, and because he wouldn't give up escorting and he wouldn't give up drugs, they kind of just threw up their hands and were like, well, we can't help you. There's nothing for you unless you do these two things. And so he was kind of left with escorting and drugs, and the drug use just got out of hand, and he went through psychosis and he took his own life. It broke my heart, and it still breaks my heart. People aren't gonna know who he is, but I know who he is. And I know that his life was worthwhile and it meant something, and that he cared about other people. And just the fact that he used drugs did not mean that he deserved to die alone and psychotic. Yeah, I miss him. And I know a lot of other people who miss him too and wish he were back. So, when I think about Max, I think about what I got to at least observe about his life and the things that were missing and the things that could have helped him. And that, in turn, teaches me where I want to apply my energy in the activism that we're doing. And I think what's great about getting to do the job I do is I get a chance to take those lessons and be like, look, we are failing queer men who use drugs. We are failing them to the point where this is how they're ending up. This shouldn't happen to anybody. It should not happen to anybody. I think we act as if somehow abstinence is this norm that everybody can get to, but it's not. The only answer can't be stopping. If that's the only measure of success you're gonna have with substance use, you're gonna fail a lot of people, and a lot of people are gonna feel like failures because they're not being abstinent. No matter how well I'm doing with my drug use, I can't look at that as a success. I keep looking at it as a failure when I measure it up against abstinence as the goal. I think my experience growing up gay and feeling so shitty about being gay, coupled with this other thing that I feel shitty about, has just gotten me fatigued with like putting up with feeling shitty about myself. I'm like, I deserve to feel good about myself, and so does every other queer man that I know. I don't like seeing people suffer, and I know that I've suffered a lot too. I just try to show up by being myself and using whatever opportunity I can to talk about the issue in a different way. It's such a weird and perverse like catch-22 that in the middle of like a lot of my substance use, I've discovered that I'm a person who's worth something, who has something to offer to the world, and who cares about people and has talent. I found that out through using drugs and sort of doing the work that I do. And that has instilled in me this belief that I'm like, you know, I kind of want to kick around for a little while longer, and I want to feel healthier and more clear-headed and able to do the work that I want to do. I want to do more for the folks that are around me in my community, and I can do that better if I'm using less. Queer men are worth supporting and loving. Guys who PMP are worth supporting and loving and giving them access to supports that are meaningful to them. They deserve to have long, healthy lives. They deserve to be happy.